did the lessons dealing with homophobia.
Have you had any parents object?
No. Nobody's voiced any objection to the work that we're doing here.
How did you keep parents on board to begin with?
All the programmes that are put through citizenship that have any element of religious, sex education, drug education, we have to notify parents of what the programme contains. We offer information evenings to parents, so if they want to come in and view materials or talk to the staff who'll be delivering the programmes, they can do that in advance. But as I say, we do have a very supportive parent community, and I think a number of them choose this school as opposed to some faith schools or other sorts of secondary education, particularly because they feel there is that openness and there is that tolerance.
Openness and tolerance were rare commodities in the schools which employed Tony Green.
And when finally my head teacher actually said to me, after all, this is such and such a town, meaning Middle England, and this is a boys' school, with the implication of what can you really expect, I think that was one of the most disheartening comments I've ever heard from anyone to whom I've looked up to in a professional capacity.
Tony taught in 2 schools with a long break in between because of depression. He's now given up on teaching and wants a career in journalism.
When people hear me talking about my experiences of homophobia in the classroom, I think sometimes what's hard for them to grasp is the extent of the grinding down day by day, the effect it has on you. It's not always the dramatic stories, the horror stories, of which I have a few. It is about this constant homophobic abuse that kids direct at each other and at adults, whether or not they seriously think the person concerned is gay. And so whether or not you've come out to students or not, you're hearing this all the time. In my last school, which was a boys' school, it literally was all the time. My union at one point told me to record every incident, and I told them that would be a physical impossibility.
But it's not just overt abuse that does the damage. Pupils, without thinking, use words and terms that are homophobic. This Turton High School training session soon turns into a discussion about the word gay.
The fact that it's used to describe even inanimate objects.
Well, how can a chair be gay?
Right.
Are you saying that chair's homosexual, Yeah. And rather than just, because you hear it so often, and you know that they're not saying somebody's homosexual or what, that they are meaning it's rubbish, they don't want to do it, they're bored, whatever. But you get used to it, don't you, I suppose? And
the problem is it's not just a word, though, is that when you consider it, it's an actual identity.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at maybe another identity word, I don't know, disabled or...
that's a racist word or something.
Yeah, racist word.
That would be unacceptable in the
you would
classroom, wouldn't it?
stop the class straight away and react to that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I have noticed over the last 2 or so years that the frequency of kids using negative gay terms to describe things, it's not necessarily a swear word, it's something they think they can get away with in the classroom maybe. And when you do highlight to them that is unacceptable, they are quite genuinely surprised, because they've been saying it for so long and so frequently, they forget what it actually means.
Bolton Health Promotion leads training like this for newly arrived teachers. They're asked to try for themselves some of the exercises they might use in their tutor groups.
I thought it was very interesting, to be honest. I mean, just seeing some of the lists and things that I guess I'm aware of but not really thought about in great detail, so I was quite stunned by some of it, yeah.
What sort of things?
For example, just the list of negatives that were being said, and it seemed to be far more on the male side than the female, so that was quite interesting.
I think it was excellent. Puts you in the same situation that you're going to put the children into. I giggled at one point, which was a nervous reaction because I was uncomfortable, and when you get that reaction with the children, I will be able to deal with it better now because they'll be feeling the same as I did.
The next exercise is another that's designed to challenge stereotyping. They take it in turns to choose photographs, cut from magazines, and then make a judgment about the sexuality of the subjects. Are they gay or straight or somewhere in between? For legal reasons, we can't show close-ups of the pictures.
Okay, I've got 2 football players, and football's regarded as a macho sport, I guess, from what you see in the news and the papers, so I want to go for straight looking.
I'm not quite sure about that one. There's a black guy with a white vest. Any suggestions? What you
think?
What I think, right. I'd probably put it towards the middle.
I find it, I'll be honest, I find it really uncomfortable doing this because I want to say all the time, well, it doesn't matter what you look like. You know? So I think this is a problem with teachers particularly doing this, and some of the more mature, reflective students will have that same issue as well.
Do you think it's a hard exercise, though? Do you think it's okay for kids to be all right to work with young people?
Yeah,
I think it's work well with them, actually.
Because they could have the option not to participate.
I think that point's interesting because we've heard that before, that people might feel uncomfortable about making a judgment. I think sometimes it might be useful to actually say at the session, you know, that you shouldn't feel guilty about this, that, and maybe relate it to the fact that in society we're all brought up with stereotypes.
Was homophobia something you'd ever given much thought to at all?
Not particularly. There are occasions where you do hear children mentioning things that you think are inappropriate, and you know you do tackle the issue. But I think after this training, it's sort of made you more aware of how children are and the way that they sort of see things.
Would you feel comfortable taking a lesson about homophobia?
Yeah, absolutely. After that training, I think it's vital that staff are given that opportunity to talk through issues and get some expert input before going into a classroom situation. But after that training, yes, definitely.
Not all teachers have been so willing to learn. The trainers have had to deal with homophobia from members of staff during training sessions.
When the staff came in, before coming on the training, they didn't realise that we were there, and a couple of the male members of staff were overtly homophobic, you know, talking about the session that they were about to go into in a very sort of negative and homophobic way. And we didn't challenge it then, and you know, that is obviously wrong, because if we are going to make any kind of like impact and changing the culture of schools, then we need to challenge both staff and students.